So here we are on this Thursday. It's April 28th, and this is a podcast on the art of letting go. And I'm really going to focus on that for a bit. And I call it an art form because it really does take practice, and what we practice grows stronger. And it does turn into an art. It's not something that we can say when we work on letting go. It's a constant practice. It's a constant practice. So, really, to focus on the art of letting go, we have to understand that on our journey of life and how we move through in so many different ways, that oftentimes we get bogged down by our past, or we get caught up in the things that aren't going our way or going the way we expect them to, or people don't meet our expectations, right? So many of these things get in our way, and it causes us to feel stressed or anxious or worried or less than, or even shameful. So we have to have a practice that really helps us navigate and negotiate all the twists and turns that we encounter in life, because it's so easy to get bogged down in these things that have gone wrong. It's so easy to get caught up in the fear and the doubt and the lack and the worry. And so many times, and so many people I work with, those become the drivers of their life. The drivers are our existence. And without us even realizing it, we're stuck in this pattern of wash, rinse, repeat. And it slowly and surely chips it away at happiness and even health. It moves us out of that state of harmony and moves us into a state of dis-ease. So as we begin this practice, or in the middle of our practice, or even far into that practice of living a life that's more intentional, living a more mindful life, we begin to uncover this tangled web of expectations that stand in the way of what we would call progress, of moving forward. So it makes sense that part of our practice should be learning to let go of the expectations, to let go of the unwanted thoughts, to release ourselves from being in a state of emotion, of stress, to let go of the expectations and let go of the past, to let go of the stress, to just let go should be part of our practice. But we all know it's easier said than done. Like everything we do, it takes practice. And with practice, it becomes an art form, and we get better and better and better at it because what we practice grows stronger, right? So learning to let go is the answer to living a fulfilling and more productive life. That doesn't mean not acknowledging the trials and tribulations of our life, of our own reality. In fact, it's just the opposite. It means reflecting on these things, bringing them into this space and allowing us to digest what's happening, to extract the lessons because those lessons are there for a reason, and then see what we can do to move forward. Maybe not put it behind us, but accept that it's there. The real secret to the art of letting go, Thich Nhat Hanh says, is to understand it's not an art at all. It's actually an allowing. It's a state of being. Letting go, like being love or being compassionate or being grateful, should be a state of being. With practice, I learn how to let go of things, the things that don't serve us. The Buddhist tradition talks a lot about non-attachment. And when we listen to the teachings of non-attachment, we tend to define that as an indifference, right? It can lead us to an impression that we should develop a lack of concern for others, or that we should live without truly feeling or expressing our emotions. That sense of non-attachment almost feels as if we should cut ourselves off from life, but in reality, in the Buddhist tradition, it's actually the opposite. Thich Nhat Hanh says to truly let go, we have to learn to love more completely, to love life in all of its different ways. And that non-attachment only happens when our love extends beyond our own personal expectations or gains, or an anticipation of something specific, or a desired outcome, when that love encompasses everything. We aren't letting go by escaping into our shell or holding ourselves up in some cave or ignoring everyone who has broken our heart or ignoring the desires that we have in life. That's not detachment. That's actually resistance to the reality of life. So in this session, I really want to help redefine what it means to let go and see it more as diving into life and experiencing life in all the ways it shows up. So we have to begin by remembering that one of the first pillars of mindfulness is awareness. And then the next one is acceptance. And one of the biggest things that I always teach in a new class is understanding and awakening a curiosity, right? To be curiosity of whatever it is, to be curious about what it is we even want to let go of, and always asking why. Why is it that I feel I need to let go of this thing? Or why do I feel this thing isn't serving me in some way or another? Usually it's moves us into that space of we want to let go of something that we've seen as bad, a bad emotion, or someone who let us down, or something that didn't go our way. So we want to let go of that thing. But if we aren't unaware of the why, we can never truly let go of it. If we don't explore why it's there, then we can almost see it as a lesson that will only stop showing up in our life when we realize it's a lesson, right? Those lessons that we encounter in life, until we learn from them, are going to be repeated over and over and over again. So many of us want to remove the risks that life threw our way and see that risk leads to fear. So to examine the why, we need to see the risk as part of life, right? Risk is part of life. When we've been burned before, whether it's in a relationship or a friendship or a job, it's easier to shun the situation in order to avoid getting hurt again. We fear being hurt again. Too much risk in starting to date after you've broken up in a relationship, right? Too much risk in making friends when your best friend has hurt you or let you down. But that fear stops us from living life to its fullest. It prevents us from reaching our full potential because we miss the opportunities in order to protect ourselves, to be in our safe space. We worry that whatever we've suffered is going to repeat itself again, so we avoid making or taking that chance. But in life, we know risk is necessary, because without risk, how would we ever find the reward? If we hope to push our own boundaries and discover what life has to offer beyond that mundane, we have to step outside. After a stormy day, we have to open the curtains in order to see the sun shining. And understand that wisdom comes from our experience, that our past holds so many lessons that there are for us there to help us take a risk, because we learn from the past and we see the risk is worth taking. So coming back to the art of letting go, we can see that we can start to turn that fear into intention. It gets us out of our own head, and often our fears and worries are just in our mind, and letting go of those by facing our anxieties helps us feel more accomplished or even courageous, right? When we move forward through those fears, we see that courage is fear walking. And when we're walking in that space of courage, we start to see our life has greater achievements. We begin to understand that mistakes do happen, but those aren't failures if we learn from them, right? Because we all stumble now and then. If we pick ourselves up and keep going, we get stronger. I resist the word failure so much because I think that failure is limiting, and it moves us into a space of shame. That word failure comes up from our past where somebody says you failed, and it shuts us down. It doesn't allow us to see the opportunity that comes when things don't go as expected. Because in life, things aren't always going to go as expected. That's true, right? Making a mistake means we tried. And if we learn from that mistake, it means we've grown stronger. To understand that our mistakes sometimes have a huge impact on our confidence and our sense of security and our safety and even our finances. But that doesn't mean we should quit, right? Doesn't mean that mistake was really a bad thing if we can change the perspective of it. It's these lessons that help us show the way. If we listen to our heart instead of the protector in our head that says, never do that again, our heart will say, do it again. Pick yourself up and go. Pick yourself up and try. It all has to go back to that question, why? Why did this not go the way I expected it to? And reflecting on what went wrong, we're less likely to repeat the same old pattern, or we start to see things that we can't change. Our mistakes sometimes will even show up or show us that we're on the wrong path, that I took the wrong turn, I should be going this way instead of that way. Maybe that situation is out of our control. Maybe we chose this path and we realize we're trying to control something that we can't control. And if we reflect on the truth, then we're better prepared to handle the outcome. That's the truth. We can dwell on our mistakes to take away the most valuable lessons, the most valuable information to help us form our future decisions. We just need to properly acknowledge them and understand the reality of them, and then commit to let go of the sense of failure or the lack of success or seeing ourselves as not good enough. We need to become aware and accept the truth in the lesson and decide what the next step is. So there's the pillar. We become aware, we accept. And then the third thing is we need to take action in it. Or sometimes there's no action. And that in and of itself is an action. I'm choosing not to take any more action in that thing. And what it all does is it means back to that whole mindful practice. It says, I'm going to live in the moment. Because accepting or obsessing on the past and anticipating the future distracts us from what is right in front of us now. What is right in front of us now? So it's important to analyze what we've been through so that it can contribute to what we're going to do next, or it can help us make a different decision or decide not to go down that path again. It's always necessary to come back into the present, reflecting on the past and looking toward the future, but not getting caught up in either one of those things, because the here and now is what's most important, right? It's really the only thing that we have. So letting go requires us to be more mindful, being more mindful about being present in the situation that we're in, to take stock or take inventory of all that happened to lead us to this space. Being mindful means we enjoy each day and each moment as it happens by quieting the noise in our minds long enough so that we can start connecting to the intuitive heart instead of the protective mind, and listen to the heart that says you are strong enough, or you can do this, or choose a different path, and start looking for the light of the heart rather than the darkness of the situation that might have happened. So if we've reflected on the past and determined what our next step is, then it's time to just allow it to be, to surrender, to accept life's inevitabilities, to trust. Now that word is difficult. Trust. Trust is the key, but how can we trust life when it keeps tripping us up? How can we trust a situation when we didn't succeed at it? Trust is so tough for so many of us who've been hurt, but the art of letting go is a practice in trust. Trusting our own instincts, trusting our intuition, trusting our strength and perseverance, and trusting that we are the hero of our story. And when we start seeing that truth, then we start understanding what's best for us, and our heart starts leading the way. When we've done all this work, all the groundwork, all the stuff, the foundation that's led us to where we are, then we can focus on being more intentional. Letting go starts to become second nature. So is it an art form, or is it a state of being? One of the hardest things to do is to surrender the need to control everything, to control life. We all want to control the weather. We all want to control the way people drive. We all want to control all these things, but you know what? We have no control over those things. The truth is, we aren't surrendering control, though. We're letting go of the need to control every outcome. We're controlling how we're going to react or non-react to the situations and the circumstances of life. To go back to that truth that says we should accept the things we can't change and focus on changing the things we can, and stop wasting our time on the things that we can't change. So much energy goes into that, wishing things were different, or wishing people acted different, or wishing the world was different. But wishing isn't a good business plan, and wishing isn't going to take us where we need to go. We all hold the reins of our lives tightly, and we want to steer it in every direction. We want to be able to steer our destiny in the direction that we desire, but sometimes the universe has other plans for us. Sometimes we're stuck in that headspace and we're not listening to our heart, which is trying to show us the way. So we like to think that we determined what happens to us and that we chose the outcome of all of our life's challenges, to say these things are our responsibility. So letting go and trusting in life sometimes feels like we're losing control, but it really isn't. It's actually assuming complete control of the things that we can control. Not of what happens to us, but how we move through it, how we flow down the stream of life and understand that it is a journey. And that's the key to health and happiness, is to say we are all on this journey and we're all going to stumble. And sometimes we flow over a waterfall and sometimes we go into the depths of a lake, but we keep moving down the stream, right? When we resist or cling to the shore, we're not moving forward. So when I work with clients, a lot of times we begin to talk about letting go, and the first thing people want to let go of are these things we call negative emotions. I want to let go of this fear. I want to let go of this sadness. I want to let go of this doubt. So to begin letting go, we have to let go and redefine the labels that we're putting on our emotions. There we should start from the beginning and recognize that emotions are part of us. We feel the grief that we encounter after somebody in our family dies. We get angry or frustrated when somebody pushes our buttons. We don't want those things and we want to let them go. In our practice, so often when I work with clients in accepting that they are emotional beings, they want to let go of the fact that they're emotional beings. I don't want to be this emotional, right? But there's no reality in that. We are emotions, and emotions are useful as long as we keep them in perspective. Even those emotions that we see as bad are there for a reason. Even if we learn to accept the highs and lows of our emotions, we also need to see that sometimes our emotions are holding us back. So there's a danger when we say accept your emotions for what they are and accept that you're an emotional being, because we can get trapped in that emotion and then all of a sudden the emotion starts leading our life for us. If we let them, they'll keep us from moving into a space of forgiveness of somebody who hurt us, and we carry that darkness inside. Or our fear may keep us from standing in front of a class, teaching and sharing our passion about what we want to share. Or that doubt might keep us from trying something new, taking that leap of faith, going on a vacation, getting in this tiny airplane that's going to take me over this mountain. Those fears are there, but if I accept the reality of it, it allows me to create an adventure. The art of letting go means we remind ourselves we're not our emotions. They shouldn't define us. They are part of us, but they aren't all of us. And that's the truth. We're not our emotions. We are emotional beings, but our emotions aren't us. They're just something that we experience. And not just, they are something we experience. Rather than I am angry, a more accurate description would be I am experiencing anger, or I'm feeling angry. Rather than I am courageous, I could say I am feeling courageous in this moment. But the way we like to define it in our teachings of sound and our teachings of mindfulness is understanding that emotions are energy that we feel. The energy rises up, and sometimes that energy feels good, and sometimes it gets trapped in my stomach or in my gut, or it makes my heart feel as if it's broken, or it gets stuck in my throat. Emotions are energy. Again, and sometimes they feel good, and sometimes they run riot and play games with me. But one thing we can be sure of is that with practice, we can stop giving them so much power. We can take away some of that power. Through the process of letting go, we can release the energy and we can learn to do something with that energy instead of just letting it fester. Again, it takes practice. The art of letting go in so many teachings means we lean into the emotion. We get in the mud with it and we sit with it and we explore it, but we don't allow ourselves to surrender to it. It's a fine line, and it's not easy. And even saying it sounds difficult. How am I going to sit with this emotion, but I don't want to surrender with it? How do I do that thing? But one of the things that we do in our practice of awareness, when I'm confronting somebody who's trying to push my buttons or somebody who might have hurt me, is I say, I see you. And I see that person as a teacher. And I should do the same thing with this emotion and say, I see you. I see you anger. I see you fear. I see you grief. And with that, I bring it into awareness and I can see it. And then the next step is to accept that it's there, because so many times we resist it. So often the protector within us tries to resist that we're feeling a certain thing, even though it's right there in front of us. We tell ourselves that we don't want to feel this way. or that we're stronger than this, or I should be over it by now. And what does that do? It puts us in a state of shame. But acceptance allows us to let go of those things that move us to feel ashamed of our emotions, which makes those emotions stronger. So if we don't become ashamed of our emotions, then we can see it for what it is, instead of letting it get bigger than it is. I feel angry. I see you, and I accept that you're there. I feel you. I'm going to walk alongside of you, and I'm going to ask why. And then what's the next step? Once we've become aware of it, once we've accepted it, then we have to take some kind of an action, right? Or do we? Again, sometimes the act of not doing anything is an action itself, but we have to do it consciously. We're making that choice. As long as we're intentionally choosing to do something, like just letting it be, then we're making the choice. But in the art of letting go, the work we do, we allow ourselves to see these things as energy, and we have to do something with that energy. When it comes up inside of us, we need to do something with it. Otherwise, it just sits in us as a negative or unresolved energy, as a trauma that gets stored in different parts of the body. When we turn our attention to that energy, then we can do something to release that energy. Not so much focused on the emotion, but on the energy itself. Where do I feel it? Where do I feel it in my body? How is it affecting my mind? And then we can move that energy. We can do something with it. So there are so many paths that we can take when we feel that energy rise up, when we feel that stress, that anger, that frustration or sadness. We can exercise. We can go for a walk. We could cry if we allow ourselves to cry. You could clean the house. You could scream. You could beat a drum. I've been doing that a lot. I got this beautiful new Buffalo drum, and I've just been beating the heck out of that sucker, and it's so fun, right? We could sing. We could dance it out. Move the body. Shift the energy. Once we start defining the emotion as an energy, we realize the energy just wants to get out. Our body wants to do something to resolve this energy. Not to hide it away, not to resist it, or not to go sit in the corner and eat a pint of ice cream. That's not going to serve anybody. It wants to let go. It wants to be let free. So often, we're desperately holding on to our emotions. We cling to them. Even though they're not serving us, we hold on to them. We're clenching them like we're clenching our hand around a pencil or a ball that we're getting ready to throw, but we don't release the ball. We just grasp it and we hold it. We're holding on to that fear or that grief or that apathy or that anger because we somehow think that this is us and that we need to hold on to it. I need to feel this grief right now, so I'm going to hold on to it. I need to be angry. I need to be angry at the situation of the world right now, so I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to let it consume every moment of my life. But we have to remember our emotions are not who we are. We are beings of love and compassion and faith and honor and gratitude and joy and forgiveness. That's the truth. But if we don't allow ourselves to let go, then that energy eats us up and it pulls us out of that energetic space. We don't need to react to everything in life and make it bigger than it is. We can make a conscious decision to let go of the things that don't matter, to move that energy, to resolve the unresolved energy. It's not easy, but we can do something with the stress, can do something with that emotion. We can allow it to wash over us and flow like water down a stream as we flow through life's stream. So here's a practice that I like to share. So let's all try this together. I just want you to practice this art of letting go. So think about something. If you want to go ahead and close your eyes and think of something that you know is a concern for you, something that is making you react or respond emotionally. It could be something at work, it could be something with your family, or even somebody that we don't get along with, or just a general problem, or it could be the politics of the world, or whatever it is. Just bring it into your mind and understand we're going to focus on the process of releasing. So as you think of that thing, notice where you feel it in your body. Maybe you feel it in your tummy or your heart or your throat, or even around your eyes or in your hands. And then ask yourself as you breathe, just ask yourself this simple question. Am I able to really let this go and be at peace? Am I able to really let this go and be at peace? Can I let go of the emotional hold I have on this issue? Can I let go and move into a space of peace or forgiveness? Can I stop resisting and be curious? And as you move through these feelings, just ask yourself again, am I able to completely let go of this issue so I can move into a better state of being? And then just breathe for a moment. Inhale and exhale. And breathe in. And this time when you exhale, answer as honestly as you can, yes or no. Can you let go? And the answer yes or no doesn't matter. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but all you have to do is trust the process and listen to your heart as you breathe into it and notice how you feel and keep breathing. Breathing in and releasing on the exhale. Breathing in and letting go of the gripping. Breathing in and imagine releasing that emotion or that feeling. And remember, we're the ones holding on to that emotion. Just breathe. Allow the thoughts to come in and flow out. Give yourself permission to let go. Give yourself permission to even let go of the resistance of letting go. And remind yourself right now, you have the power. And just breathe again. Breathing into that truth. And think about how you feel. Maybe there was a shift. Don't try to force it. Always remember this is a practice. But the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. And if you feel you've let go, just stay with your breath. And then I want you to think about that issue again. And observe your feelings. And notice if you feel it in your body now. Is there any residual negative energy around this issue? Just ask yourself and be curious about where it is. And if it seems like you can find it, connect to it, see it, and feel it. Maybe you can imagine it as a color or a shape. See that it's still there. And then ask yourself again, am I able to let go of this issue so that I can move forward in my life? And breathe in and breathe out. And when you exhale again, answer yes or no. As you breathe, imagine releasing the gripping and just continue to breathe and let go. Now, maybe you feel that emotion has shrunk or changed colors or shape. Maybe its intensity have changed, or maybe not. Again, don't try to force it. Just know it's a process. It's a practice. Whatever's there, just be aware of it. And then understand, no matter what you're feeling right now, that simple practice is a practice of self-care. It's a practice of loving yourself. Every time you breathe into that space and feel it, you're taking a brave step forward. And there's no perfect path. There's no perfect practice. You need to let go of the expectations and just do the work for yourself. And as you practice, just remember, this is good for you. To loosen the clutch of that emotion, to relax into the comfort of your breath, to breathe and release, to feel yourself unclenching to feel yourself letting go. Maybe it would help to envision letting go of that energy by imagining there's a door in front of wherever that feeling is. Maybe it's in front of your stomach or your heart. And imagine that door opening up. And as that door opens up, you're allowing that pent up energy to just move out, to move out of your life. Maybe you have to sweep it away. And as you imagine letting go, imagine closing that door back and check into how you feel. And if the energy is still a little negative, that's okay. It's a practice. There may be a lot there. And even if you don't feel like you're making progress, don't worry about that either. All you have to do at this point is to take a break, to let go of any expectations, and understand that that in and of itself is letting go. To let go of a need to feel a certain way, that's part of the practice of letting go. To let go of having to have to do this right, that's letting go. And you just keep working. You're cracking the door of letting go, even though it may not feel like you are. You are. Because sometimes we're so busy watching that we're really not experiencing the result of the work. So many times we're stuck in the expectation of how we should feel that we're not feeling what we truly feel. If at any point during this practice you answered no, just know that that in and of itself is a practice of acceptance and awareness. Each and every step that we take in this process of healing is going to take us closer and closer to the emotional freedom that we seek. As we shift the energy, as we go back to move that energy, to beat the drum, to dance and sing, to clean the house, to scream at the top of our lungs, to just breathe. That's part of the practice. There's another way we can approach this practice of letting go. It's called a welcoming technique. It's similar, but a little bit different. So stay right where you are, and the steps go kind of like this. You can lower your head, and as you think about that place that you feel the energy, maybe it's your stomach or your chest, place your hand over that space. And notice the intensity of it and how it feels in your body. And then give that intensity a number. Maybe it's from 0 to 10. And welcome it into your awareness. As if you'd welcome a friend into your house. Welcoming doesn't mean we agree with it. Welcoming doesn't mean we've forgiven it. All we have to do in this moment is allow ourselves to embrace it and accept it and feel it. Allow it to be there. Instead of pretending it doesn't exist. And then just imagine how it would feel if you released it on the exhale, or you open that door, or you change that number. Maybe if your number was 8, you could imagine going down in an elevator, 7 and 6 and 5, and you get to decide what floor you want to get off on. Maybe the door opens at 3 or 2. There's no right answer. But if you can just relax a little bit, if you can soften the feelings, if you can just imagine that intensity going down, it will. And again, you can repeat this process over and over again. Some issues are going to require more work than others, but it is a practice. And what we practice does grow stronger. Letting go isn't easy. Deciding what we need to let go of in and of itself isn't easy. But we move back into this practice. We become aware and we accept. And then we do the work of resolving the energy, because everything's energy, even our emotions, even that pain that we feel in our gut, even that heartache. We breathe into that space and we breathe out from it. And no, it's not a perfect thing. We don't want to feel bad about feeling a certain way. We don't want to shame ourselves when we experience the stresses of life. We don't want to judge or question. We want to do it and do the work and understand that that's going to be the process. And that in and of itself is a practice of love for ourselves. That in and of itself is a practice of mindfulness. So that's my lesson for the day. Keep practicing and show up for yourself over and over and over again.